The gavel cracked like a bone and silence shivered through the room. Maya Holt steadied herself and watched a life rewrite itself in one word. "Not guilty," the judge intoned, and the gallery exhaled like a wound. Elena Park said, "Breathe, I've got you," and her hand hovered, careful as gauze. Detective Noah Reed said, "We'll review options," and his eyes never met hers. Veronica Vale smiled as if air itself owed her rent. A phone hummed in Maya's pocket, and the name was unknown. Riley Quinn said, "You don't know what you don't know," and the line hissed. "They steered it," Riley said. "Meet me where the steps bleed rain." Maya closed her fist and mapped exits like a prayer. "If this is mercy," Maya said, "why does it feel like a verdict on me?" The hallway smelled like wet wool and victory. Reporters funneled noise into knives, and the doors shook. Elena Park said, "We step left and the camera misses you," and she stared with air. Maya Holt said, "Heard the rain on the steps," and the phone trembled again. Detective Noah Reed said, "Let me get the car," and his shadow boxed the exit. Veronica Vale said, "No statements," and the press obeyed the suggestion. Riley Quinn said, "Backstairs now," and the call died. Maya kept the sealed letter in her mind, like a hot coin. She mapped stairwells and fire doors and counted breaths. Elena said, "You are not alone," and the words felt like a contract written in steam. The side doors spit them into wet neon. Sirens feathered the blocks. Riley Quinn said, "Don't look back," and stepped from the shadow like a drawn match. Maya Holt said, "Why me?" and the city hushed to listen. Riley said, "Because they used you to bury someone," and she pointed at the courthouse dome. Detective Noah Reed's voice echoed from the stairwell and clipped off. Elena Park said, "We should talk somewhere warm," and her hand wrapped a promise around the cold. "Show me proof," Maya said, and rain tried to erase the words. "6 blocks," Riley said, "then I'll change what you remember." They ducked into a diner that smelled like coffee and endings. The waitress poured silence by the cup. Elena Park said, "We set ground rules, and placed napkins like borders." Riley Quinn said, "He ran files through a ghost account, and sketched arrows on a receipt." Maya Holt said, "Names," and she lined the napkin with scars. Detective Noah Reed strode past the fogged window and did not see them. "Veronica pulls strings," Riley said. "He dances," and her voice steadied. Elena said, "Careful with accusations," and her smile tightened at the edges. "I know what was taken," Maya said, "and I know who paid." The chairs creaked like old testimony. Riley slid a photo from a plastic sleeve, and the diner's light changed. "This is the hinge," Riley said. "The night the file list vanished." Maya Holt said, "That face," and her pulse found an old rhythm. Elena Park said, "Slow down," and pressed the picture's edge with 2 careful fingers. Detective Noah Reed called and the phone lit like a flare. "He feels close," Riley said, "like a lock picking itself." "Where did you get this?" Maya said, and the plates clinked like code. "From someone who wants out," Riley said, "before the story eats her." The rain eased and the silence grew teeth. Night folded around the apartment like a tarp, and the kettle clicked off unheard. Maya Holt said, "I'll finish this coffee," and left it cooling beside the sealed letter. Elena Park said, "Text me when you're safe," and warmth lingered after the call ended. Riley Quinn said, "Coordinates sent," and a pin glowed like a lighthouse on a cracked screen. Maya paced and traced escape routes through doors and windows and shadows. The letter waited like a storm that refused to arrive. "Not tonight," Maya said, "but soon," and the envelope's edge caught her thumb. Sirens faded to a smear at the horizon. "They think the story ended," Riley said. "We both know it didn't." Maya touched a photograph and listened for a humming that used to fill a quiet house. "I remember the steps and the rain," Maya said. "And the part I never say out loud?" Dawn washed the river in nickel light, and the fog came in on soft feet. Maya Holt said, "I still come here," and set a smooth stone on the rail. The city woke in quiet rattles and gulls, sketched commas over the water. Elena Park said, "You honor what you survived," and her voice traveled gently through the phone. "I survived and I stalled," Maya said. "There's a difference." Riley Quinn said, "Meet me by the ferry stairs," and the message buzzed like a small dare. Maya breathed and tasted metal and rain memory. "I bring the letter, then I take it home again," she said, like a superstition. A barge horn pushed the fog into layered sheets. "Today we turn the hinge," Riley said, "or it turns us." The community room smelled like lemon oil and old paperbacks. Elena Park said, "You deserve ordinary mornings," and slid tea across a scarred table. Maya Holt said, "Ordinary feels like costume," and watched steam rise then drift away. "Grief bargains," Elena said. "It offers control if you obey it." "Control is a map," Maya said. "I keep redrawing it." The ceiling vent hummed like a small choir. "What would today's map allow?" Elena said, "if you trusted it for 1 hour." Maya unfolded a tram ticket Riley had left and pressed a crease flat. "It would allow me to follow a kid who knows too much," she said, "and ask why I was chosen." Elena said, "Because you carry truth like a mirror." Maya said, "Mirrors scare people who edit stories." Under the overpass, the city spoke in drips and echo. Riley Quinn said, "I collect what people throw away and spread receipts and Polaroids like tarot." Maya Holt said, "Patterns hide where light is ugly," and knelt to the chalk lines. "He routed files through a dead login," Riley said. "The timestamps dance, but the dance is crooked." Traffic thundered overhead like a herd that never tires. "Who taught you this?" Maya said, and Riley grinned like a dare. "Walls talk," Riley said. "I listen." The chalk arrow pointed toward a storage unit number. "I was meant to misremember a night," Maya said. "Someone wrote that into me." Riley said, "Let's rewrite." A siren's wail bent as if deciding. The precinct conference room wore its glass like armor. Detective Noah Reed said, "You asked for transparency," and slid a property envelope across. Maya Holt said, "I asked for truth," and tapped the chain of custody line. The fluorescence hummed with bureaucratic patience. "I can reopen a thread," Noah said, quietly. "Quiet helps the wrong people," Maya said, and watched his eyes track the door. His phone lit and went dark before the name resolved. "You trust me enough to stay," Noah said, "or you trust the storm outside?" "I trust what survives weather," Maya said, and the envelope rasped under her thumb. Somewhere a printer coughed up forms like snow. "Bring me what you buried," she said, "and we'll call it a start." The storage facility breathed like a sleeping animal and keys clinked in the dark. Riley Quinn said, "Unit 12B," and held a flashlight as if it were a sword. Maya Holt said, "Locks remember hands," and traced fresh scrapes near the latch. "He was here," Riley said, "or someone copying his gate." A forklift beeped somewhere, and the echo folded back on itself. "We keep this quiet," Maya said, "until quiet turns against us." Riley laughed without warmth and said, "Quiet already filed a report." The padlock gave up with a tired sigh and rolled into her palm. "If this is nothing," Maya said, "I want it to be loudly nothing." The door rose and the dust acted like it had rehearsed for this cue. Boxes waited like obedient witnesses and the air tasted like old tape. Riley Quinn said, "Start with the newest dust," and wiped a finger trail along a lid. Maya Holt said, "Chain of custody should have chained this," and opened a folder of redacted moons. "He moved evidence by renaming it memory," Riley said, and tilted a hard drive to the light. Footsteps grazed the corridor, and the flashlight dimmed as if afraid. "We are not alone," Maya said, and placed the drive under her coat. A silhouette paused, then drifted past like a thought that lost nerve. "Leave a decoy," Riley said. "Let the trap study itself." Maya swapped labels with a thief's precision. If they rewrite the past tonight, she said, we make a carbon copy. Glass sighed in Veronica's office, and the city lay obedient beneath her. Elena Park said, this will help Maya breathe, and placed 3 names on a crisp card. Veronica Vale said, breathing can be curated, and turned the card with 2 clean fingers. You have pull, Elena said. Use it to steady the ground. Veronica smiled as if gravity reported to her and said, steady ground creates boring stories. Elena's eyes flicked to a framed headline that wore triumph like perfume. She needs space to heal, Elena said, and steadied her voice. Veronica said, healing sells poorly without spectacle, and paused long enough to salt the silence. I'll protect her, Elena said, and her jaw made a promise her past had broken. Veronica said, protection is a currency I exchange at favorable rates. The library's basement hummed like a hive and screens flickered with patient malice. Riley Quinn said, dead logins leave living shadows, and opened a tunnel on a battered laptop. Maya Holt said, show me his steps without his shoes, and watch directories collapse like stage props. Someone's scrubbing in real time, Riley said, and code scrolled like rain on fast glass. The cursor stuttered, then sprinted, and a folder blinked to 0 bytes. He's not alone, Maya said. Ghosts don't panic this quickly. Riley grinned and said, then let them chase wrong footprints, and cloned a lure of tidy lies. A distant breaker clicked, and the room dimmed to a darker honesty. Save the mirrors, Maya said. We'll need them when they claim we imagined this. The backup finished with a bell that sounded like relief pretending. The parking structure trapped sound and released it in pieces. Detective Noah Reed said, you raided a unit, and the echo made the words sound official. Maya Holt said, we entered a story that was already trespassing, and held his gaze steady. You should have called me, Noah said, and his hand hovered near his pocket. Your pocket keeps secrets, Maya said. Mine keeps receipts. Tires squealed 2 floors up, and the concrete trembled like an anxious throat. You're asking me to risk my badge, Noah said, and looked toward a camera that stared back. I'm asking you to risk the part of you that still recognizes weather, Maya said, and didn't blink. His phone vibrated and died as if warned. Bring me the file that keeps disappearing, she said, or stop calling yourself steady. The apartment hummed with midnight, and the drive blinked like a heartbeat. Riley Quinn said, folder named Garden, and the title felt smug. Maya Holt said, open it, and the screen bloomed with messages. Inrahan Kaur writes like a cop, Riley said, and scroll. He signs off with weather, Maya said. He always does that. A calendar invite pointed to a private entrance beneath the Vale Tower. They staged the disappearance of a file, Riley said, then staged a memory. Maya pressed her palms to the table and steadied the shake. If Anchor is who I think, she said, then steady was a performance. The kettle clicked off and no one moved. The community hall smelled like dust and mercy rehearsed. Elena Park said, you asked for steadiness, and set 2 teacups between them. Maya Holt said, I asked for truth, and watched a tremor cross the surface. I steered press away to spare you, Elena said, and her voice wore velvet. You steered me too, Maya said, toward safe stories. A flyer for a donor brunch flashed Veronica's name at the bottom. She funds healing, Elena said. And healing needs patrons. Healing needs honesty, Maya said. Even when it burns. Elena's smile faltered, and a cost peeked through. I made compromises, she said, to keep doors open. Maya said, some doors lock from the inside. Under the rail bridge, signals clicked like metronomes for secrets. Riley Quinn said, I traced the ghost login to a prepaid plan, and hoisted a cheap phone. Maya Holt said, whose voice, and the speaker coughed up a saved voicemail. Detective Noah Reed said, Anchor at base, she trusts me and traffic swallowed the rest. He calls himself Anchor, Riley said, and reports to Vale event staff. Maya's breath found an old winter, and would not leave. Lila met a driver there once, she said. On a night I misremember. They curated the weather, Riley said. And you carried the storm. I was meant to, Maya said. Until tonight. The bridge shivered like it understood. The Vale Tower lobby gleamed like a memory polished too hard. Veronica Vale said, You requested audience, and the room adjusted to her. Maya Holt said, I requested answers, and the marble kept her voice cool. Stories thrive on tension, Veronica said, even personal ones. You funded my comfort, Maya said, and purchased silence. Veronica's eyes held without blinking, and named prices. He steadies the optics, Veronica said. So justice can walk. He steadies the lie, Maya said. So power can glide. The security camera winked like an accomplice. Veronica said, You could be free of this past. Maya said, I am learning who wrote it. The parking deck stairwell smelled like hot concrete and secrets that sweat. Riley Quinn said, AirTag on his spare, and a dot crept across the map. Dot. Maya Holt said, We do this without heroics. And the echo carried nerves. Detective Noah Reed said, Anchor inbound, handoff in 5, and his voice rose from the level below. Veronica Vale said, Confirm receipt, and the line clicked like a lock. Elena Park said, Please stop, and the message arrived too late. Double life, Maya said, public steady private courier. Riley whispered, Record everything, and the phone began to listen. Tonight we stop being curated, Maya said, and start remembering. The door latch lifted on a future that would not forgive. The stairwell door yawned to a level where the air vibrated with engines and intention. Riley Quinn said, Dot is settled near the northwest corner, and held her phone like a compass. Maya Holt said, We keep eyes high and hands low, and the recorder pulsed red. Tires brushed water into whispers, as Detective Noah Reed stepped into the orange light with a courier tote. Veronica Vale said, 2 minutes, through a speaker, and the echo wore perfume. Maya said, You steady optics by delivering erasures, and the words stuck to the concrete. Noah said, Stand down. But his shoulders admitted the storm he carried. Riley said, Let it roll, and the deck turned into a stage that could not forget. Maya stepped from shadow, and the light measured every choice she had made. Anchor, Maya said, How many nights did you sign off with weather? Noah said, You are not cleared for this conversation, and shifted the tote behind his hip. Riley said, We are recording, and her voice made gravity feel personal. Veronica said, Confirm handoff, and the speaker clicked like a metronome for lies. Maya said, Chain of custody broke where your name bent, and the wind tugged at the tape on a painted line. Noah said, I kept worse wolves from the door, and the excuse sounded tired. You kept the door, Maya said, and sold the house. A siren far off tried to rehearse an ending that no longer fit. Footsteps rose from the stairwell, and a breath of warmer air followed them in. Elena Park said, Please, stop this, and her calm tried to dress the chaos. Maya said, You promised care, not choreography, and watched Elena's eyes search for exits. I softened edges, Elena said, so you could keep standing. Riley said, Soft edges cut quiet, and slid nearer to the tote. Noah said, Back off, but his voice had already chosen regret. Whose brunch paid for my silence, Maya said, and the answer hung like damp. Elena said, I bartered access to keep doors open, and the door behind her whispered shut. Then let this one stay open, Maya said, because truth is arriving. A black sedan nosed into the corner space, and the deck changed its mind about silence. Veronica Vale said, Time, and the word arranged the air. Maya said, You curated memory, and called it mercy, and stepped forward with the recorder bright. Mercy is narrative discipline, Veronica said. And the driver watched nothing at all. Riley said, We seeded a mirror in your pipeline, and a decoy drive flashed like a baited hook. Noah said, Don't do this, but his hand lowered from the tote. You used my grief as a stage, Maya said, and sold tickets. Veronica said, grief needs ushers, and smiled without heat. The camera overhead blinked as if it finally learned to see. Noah breathed like someone finishing a marathon he never chose to run. I moved the file, Noah said. I cleaned the chain and I signed the weather. Maya said, for her, and the recorder waited like a judge with time. For the machine she pilots, Noah said, so trials would land where the city sleeps. Riley said, where did the lost night end? And the question reached for the oldest wound. At the tower's loading dock, Noah said. She entered a sedan, still laughing. Maya said, she, and the word scraped. Lila, Noah said, alive when the footage died. Veronica said, story time is over, and the sedan door clicked. Maya said, then give me the key you hid from yourself, and Noah opened the tote. The key drive clicked into place, and the room held its breath like it feared alarms. Riley Quinn said, checksum clean, and a directory uncurled like a fist unclenching. Maya Holt said, mirror it first, and watched blocks march towards safety. Detective Noah Reed said, I'll give a statement, and his voice sounded like gravel under rain. Elena Park said, I am sorry for steering, and the apology looked heavier than the table. Truth is not a room you decorate, Maya said. It is a door you open. The logs showed metadata stitched with careful lies. They nested edits inside calendar invites, Riley said. Cute until court. I'll name names, Noah said. Her included. Name your own, Maya said. So the weather stops signing for you. The precinct interview room smelled like toner, and second chances rationed by policy. Maya Holt said, we are recording, and placed the drive where the mic could hear it breathe. Detective Noah Reed said, I routed evidence to Vale's team, and did not look at the mirror. Riley Quinn said, he called himself Anchor, and slid the voicemail transcript across. Counsel will contest chain, Noah said, and a printer began to fuss in the hall. Let them try, Maya said. We kept originals and lures. Elena Park said, I'll testify to the funding pressure. And her voice steadied. This is triage, Maya said, not a parade. It will still march, Riley said, but now the drum is honest. A clock ticked like a cheap metronome for courage. By afternoon the courthouse steps bristled with microphones that dreamed of careers. Veronica Vale said, we support transparency, and the word bent like soft metal. Maya Holt said, transparency without truth is a window painted blue, and the press leaned in. Detective Noah Reed said, I falsified custody, and the crowd inhaled like a single lung. Riley Quinn said, the voicemail and logs are mirrored off-site, and a hush recalibrated. Elena Park said, I am resigning from her fund, and the cameras blinked awake. Charges will come, Maya said, and not just for him. Veronica smiled and said, narratives evolve, and turned toward her sedan. So do witnesses, Maya said, especially the ones who survived the edit. The sky threatened rain, and chose restraint. Evening leaned over the river, and the fog arrived like a gentle witness. Maya Holt said, I brought you again, and held the letter that had outlived seasons. The tape on the memorial rail had gone soft at the edges. Riley Quinn said, you don't have to open it, and stood 2 steps back like a lookout for grief. Elena Parks said, whatever it says can't unmake you, and rested a palm on the cold metal. Maya breathed the metallic damp, and slit the envelope with a key. She wrote about choosing a new song, Maya said, and about coming home late. The paper smelled faintly of lemon and locker rooms. She was still laughing, Maya said, the night the footage died. The water answered with a throat of quiet. Night found the diner again, and the coffee remembered not to be finished. Maya Holt said, the Da wants a careful story, and pushed sugar packets into a small wall. Riley Quinn said, careful gets people lost, and sketched a timeline in the condensation. Elena Park said, I will face the board and say the quiet parts. And her mouth stopped pretending. Detective Noah Reed texted, statement filed, and the screen cooled to black. Justice arrived in pieces, Maya said. And some pieces won't fit. We will keep the ones that cut, Riley said. So the next door opens. The jukebox clicked and chose a sober song. Tomorrow we knock again, Maya said, and we bring the weather with us. The windows caught the street and refused to blink. Morning seeped in like a careful witness, and the printer finally stopped coughing. Maya Holt said, we build the public timeline and spread copies like maps. Riley Quinn said, we anchor it with the voicemail and tapped a neat star. Elena Park said, my statement names the funders, and her voice found a steadier floor. Detective Noah Reed said, I sign where it hurts, and uncapped a pen that felt heavier than it looked. Hurt belongs to the truth now, Maya said, not to the people who rented it. Riley said, we leave gaps where speculation wants to live, and drew a hard box around rumor. Elena said, then we breathe. And the room remembered how. After we breathe, Maya said, we knock on the last closed door. The tower felt colder in daylight, and the lobby polished footprints into rumors. Veronica Vale said, you mistake influence for crime, and the marble carried her tone like a brand. Maya Holt said, we traced your edits through people you bought, and held the drive like a quiet bell. People crave order, Veronica said. I sell it wholesale. Riley Quinn said, you sell erasures, and her chin did not tremble. Elena Park said, I was your ribbon on the box, and the admission unspooled. Veronica smiled as if gravity still reported to her calendar. Stories end when I say they end, she said, and turned toward the doors. Then listen for the ending you did not plan, Maya said. It is already walking. The precinct hallway wore its buzz like penance, and the clock forgot how to hurry. Detective Noah Reed said, badge on the desk, and the leather sounded final. Maya Holt said, confession is a floor, not a roof, and let silence honor the weight. Riley Quinn said, your voicemail saved a girl's ghost from being sold, and slid the transcript back. I believed I was damming a flood, Noah said. I was redirecting it. Elena Park said, I will testify to the pressure that made this feel noble, and her jaw held. Bring me the doc logs, Maya said. Every entry near the night the footage died. Noah nodded like a door finally opening. I will, he said. And I will sign the weather with my name. The river held its breath and gulls stitched small seams in the sky. Maya Holt said, the letter says she chose a song and a late ride, and the words met fog that did not argue. Riley Quinn said, choosing isn't consent to vanish, and her eyes tracked a fairy wake. Elena Park said, grief edits memory and calls it safety, and her palm warmed the rail. I will ask the doc for her last laugh, Maya said, and for who heard it. The water answered with a soft knock under wood. Riley said, if she is out there, she knows you kept coming. I kept coming because someone kept closing doors, Maya said, and the tape on the photo sighed. The fog thinned to a promise that refused to be specific. Night folded the apartment into a careful box, and the rain returned like a habit. Maya Holt said, we sent copies everywhere, and the drives sat like quiet lanterns. Riley Quinn said, tomorrow we knock on the dock, and drew a new route on a sticky note. Elena Park said, I will face the board and speak in full sentences, and the kettle answered. The phone blinked with an old number that had learned patience. A saved audio clip whispered a familiar hum, and the room leaned toward it. She tapped pens when she wondered, Maya said, and the rhythm matched memory. The storm pressed its ear to the glass. Maya Holt said, who taught the weather to lie?